Putting your professional credibility, reputation on the line, et cetera, you're around people who study this stuff for a living, who are the most knowledgeable people on this topic in the world.
Yes.
What is their general sense of what this might be?
That this is not from Earth.
Right. That it's not from Earth, that this is these are aliens, essentially.
And, you know, until I see a piece of technology that does something I don't understand, or until I see an alien body, I'm going to also remain skeptical.
Of course, as you should.
But it doesn't mean I won't study it. And people say, well, why, if you are so skeptical still, you're studying it? Because it's the most important thing that could have ever
Of course, but that's why we cover it on the show. Not because I have no special knowledge. I know nothing, really. But
why could
by definition, it's the most important. So is the general belief that these objects, whatever this is coming from outside our atmosphere, or that it's coming from beneath the oceans?
Both, I think. I mean, whatever it is, it's clearly been here for a long time. And it doesn't necessarily care so much about us, but in terms of, you know, if it wanted to wipe us out, it could.
Clearly, obviously.
All you got to do is go out to the asteroid belt and push a big rock our way, and that's the end of us. We're the next dinosaur problem. So the next question is, well, if they've been here all along, before we were even civilized, well, whose planet is this really?
So it sounds like in the world that you live in, it is taken for granted, which is assumed to be true, that this stuff is real.
Yes. Yeah, it's 100% real. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. I mean, the data is real. And this is what when I have these conversations with other scientists who have told me, Garry, you're going to ruin your reputation. It's like, well, my reputation has been always going against the grain, and look at where I am. I'm perfectly fine going against the grain. This is real, and we need to pay attention to it, and it's just unscientific to not study it.
Yes, amen.
Right? I mean, it's just wrong. And if you're going to be that way, you're a priest, you're not a scientist. The other point is, I think that's important to realize, is that when a lot of, let's say, these events were occurring and there's claimed crash materials that might have been collected, this went off to places like Lockheed and all of the big aerospace companies. They wanted to profit off of it. And many of them basically took a lot of the information, set it aside, and they decided, okay, well, we're going to profit off it. We're not going to tell Congress what this is all about, because if we do, then maybe we have to share this with McDonnell Douglas.
So why would the aerospace company that you have not named, I've noticed, why would they be interested in finding, along with the CIA, the answers to these questions?
Technology. I mean, you've seen the reports on how these things move. 0 to 5,000 miles an hour, instantaneous acceleration and deceleration, transmedium travel.
Yeah. Meaning from air to water.
Air to water, yeah. We can't do any of that. We just can't.
And moreover, we don't know how it's done.
We don't know how it's done. And so that means that there's a level of physics that can be appreciated and maybe taken advantage of. I mean, hundreds, thousands of years ago, we looked at birds and we saw they could fly, and we said, we want to fly. So now we see this happening, and now we realize that our physics doesn't answer how that moves, so we need new physics.
Is there evidence that there's a lot of this kind of activity undersea?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, plenty, right? The sonar images show these things moving at speeds a dozen times faster than our fastest submarines, with no cavitation, right? No basically bubbles behind them, because the movement would create a vacuum and would, basically make a giant bubble, and we'd get this noise. No noise, just sonar images.
So, given your background in science, is that explicable?
No.
No, it's not.
No.
Okay.
You have to imagine the new kinds of physics.
But there's a lot of data from underwater.
Correct. But get that out of the Navy. And that's part of what the announcement today was all about. This idea that Congress has said, enough is enough. We want the data. You're not going to hide this anymore. We're going to give anybody in the entire DoD and intelligence community a secure channel by which you can actually report this. You can basically set aside the NDAs or oaths that you've given, because you're basically reporting it to us, and it'll be given to the Senate and the congressional leadership.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the first time ever that this has been done.
It's about time.
So, I mean, if anybody wants to question whether this is something to pay attention to, you have to realize that these are the senators and congresspeople who, behind closed doors, have seen the classified briefings. Right? They're the people who've seen this in a way, they've seen stuff I haven't seen. And some of them come out and their eyes are wide.
Yes.
About this.
Garry Reed of Nevada was
and,
constantly talking about it. Yeah.
You know, and I actually briefed Congressman Gallagher about this issue before he did the congressional hearings on it about the Wilson Davis memo. And, you know, these people are taking it seriously, and you have to. So when you start to hear many of these cases, and Jacques Vallée talks about this a lot, that whatever these things are, seem to have the ability to project altered reality into people's minds. I know that sounds crazy. And I'm just repeating the stories.
Well, no crazier than
think.
any other thing that we've been talking about.
Right.
I mean, it's all outside the bounds of what we understand as science anyway, right?
Yeah. So I think that part of what we're seeing here, I mean, look, if you're an intelligence, are you going to go down on a planet with a bunch of angry monkeys who might kill you? No, unlikely. You'll send some intermediary. Well, what kind of intermediary are you going to send? You're going to send something that maybe almost looks like them, but isn't them. So I think, and this is, again, from inside the intelligence community, most of what we think we're seeing are avatars, biological robots that are basically put there to be the minions, if you will.